Nice. The first thing I want to ask you. Oh, before I ask you anything, I interviewed Toby and John from Hellbender and Where the
Yeah,
Devil Roams, and Toby said I should give you a big hug, a big virtual hug, on behalf of her, and that feel hugged, please.
she Toby, she's great. I've been with her in Mar del Plata Film Festival. She's so great. She's
And they're
an
so
amazing.
creative, right? They're so creative. It was very funny because I asked Toby, you are a homicidal maniac in the last movie Where the Devil Roams, but you're so sweet. So that's really the power of acting, right?
Yeah. I guess I used to found um, good people making horror movies, even
Yes.
in the heavy metal music scene. You find musician who plays heavy metal, and they are like, oh, really nice guy.
Yes, super cute. That's super cute people. It's amazing. Damien, the first question I want to ask you, I ask everybody this because when I watch your movies, everything is so creative, the design and everything. And I want to know why horror? Because you could make action, you could make fantasy, you could make tons of stuff. But why horror?
I guess it's because I love monsters and I love the fantasy element in the stories. I used to love action movies when I was really young. My father used to give me magazine of guns because I was really fan of the guns, pistols, machine gun. Yeah, because my toys was GI Joe,
Yes.
and I used to play, even used to play with my toys as soldiers, little ones, plastic soldiers, and I grew up playing with my toys as they are making a war. So big fan of Rambo
Wow.
movies, Chuck Norris movies, and even I used to play with my toys that I make movies, action movies.
Wow.
Even I used to buy paint to make my own blood, red paint, and I play with them with blood. Um, but the point is when I saw the horror movie, Friday 13 Part 3, I met Jason Borges, and I said, okay, I don't want machine guns, I don't want fire gun,
I
machete,
want a
and
machete. Oh my god.
more blood, and the blood. Um, I follow the path of blood in that movies, and I get in love in the monsters. So I guess it's a creative. Uh, you know, for me, is you can build a lot of kind of stories. You have a creative choice to take when you write horror movies. And by another hand, I am a fucking son of a bitch because I want to scare my people. I enjoy a lot to scare people, my friends, my family. I have a really black humor, and that point is why I love to make horror movies, I guess.
Yes, and horror has this connection with humor, right? Here in Brazil, I don't know if in Argentina you have something similar to that, but here we say that a really bad horror movie is a great comedy.
Yeah,
We used to say that, so that is a connection, and I'm amazed that your parents saw you playing with toys and blood, and they were okay. Like, nah, that's fine. He can do that.
They don't have time to lose on what I'm doing when I was a kid.
Yes.
I think I used to do it in secret with my friend, and we used to play in his house in secret in the roof. It's not the roof. It's in the, I don't know how to say in English. But we used to say the place over your house where you tend the clothes for dry, and we play. Yeah, but even I at the same time I grew up drawing comic books. My comics were really violent, bloody, and that's why my mother took me to the psychologist, to the shrink, when I
Wow.
was when I was 11, 12 years old. But not because how I play with my toys, it's because how I draw my comics. But everything was okay after 2 years of therapy. My shrink said, "He's okay.
Yes,
Don't
that's
worry."
amazing. I'm really anxious to see what is going to happen with my daughter because I am a horror writer and a horror fan. And 2 years ago, I entered in the office and she got a book, and she was so lucky because from all the books that she could get, she got one that told stories about all of George Romero's movies. So
Uh
the
huh.
book had lots of photos. So it's been 2 years that everything is about zombies. So we are walking on the street and there is a dog, and I say, Mia, be careful, come here, don't go near the dog. And she says something like, because that dog is a zombie. And I said, yes, yes, let's say like that. So she developed this love for zombies, and she likes Hellboy, and she likes to flip pages. So I'm really anxious to see if this will turn out into something in her personality,
That's
because it's really nice. I like I told some people that I interviewed yesterday that I watched a lot of documentaries about opioids and the opioid crisis in the USA. And the opioid pill is a good metaphor for horror because the coating of the pill can be horror. But inside the pill, you can put grief, you can put motherhood, you can
yeah,
put, I don't know, anything, bullying, you can put
yeah,
anything. So horror is this really nice cover that you can put right there. And I felt that when I watched the wonderful Satanic Hispanics. That movie is something. And your segment, it's really nice because you have, if it were a pill, inside the pill we would have something like OCD, and somebody, a guy that is really obsessed, and he has got some issues, and he's all alone, and I guess he's depressed, and
yeah,
then horror jumps on the screen. Did you write that too? Because you
yeah,
wrote all the other movies.
yeah, yeah. I used to write my own stuff. It's my style. It's my signature to be my writer. Yes, that's what I'm trying to push. Even now there are a lot of studios pushing me with their projects, but I learned I'm the best to do my own script.
Yes.
And yes, yes, I wrote it. I wrote it. And honestly, I wrote it in a just in a weekend in a couple of days, because I lied to my partners. I said, yes, I have my segment. I wrote my segment. I will send to you as soon as I found the ending. I never wrote it. I just had an idea, but too, I don't know, lazy idea. Um, and the deadline came, and I said, well, I need to write something. I wrote it, and after 10 days, I shoot it. And yeah, well, thank you. It was a nice experience because I used to refuse all the proposal from anthologies.
Yes. It's complex, right?
It's complex because all the time you are, even in your own, I don't know, but all the time you are giving to the audience to choose which is your favorite.
Yes.
When we read an anthology book, we choose. Oh, I love this and I love this, and this one. And for a movie, it's a big risk because the movie is a movie, and you need to have all segments in equal condition, because if you, and even when you have, when your segment are in the ending or in the middle, probably it's not so good, the audience disconnect easily.
Instantly. Yes.
Yeah, because all the time they need to start a new concept. They need to start to know the new characters and new stories 3, 4, 5 times in the same movie. And I don't used to watch anthologies, not as I did in my childhood. That's why I used to refuse, but Alejandro Brugués convinced me, and they are so great people. He's great. All the directors are really, really great. And say, okay, I'm in, and I did it. I'm really happy with that. Really, really happy.
And your segment is the creepiest. You talked about humor. There is a lot of humor, but in your segment is really dark, and it gets super dark. And I loved the acting from Efren Ramirez. I don't know if you say Efren. He is the traveler, right?
The troll. He's the segment of Mike Mendes segment.
And he is the connection. And
Yeah.
he was great. He was a great actor, and his performance was awesome. But in the moment that we see Demián, not you, Demián the actor, and he has a crazy face, man. You found this guy because I had never seen Demián in any other movie. And he really has the face of this crazy guy that he has some issues. So in the moment that you see him playing with that cube, and I remembered Hellraiser a lot, and in the moment that you see him playing with that cube, and you think, okay, so that is something really. I thought he was crazy at first. I thought, no, this guy's completely crazy. The horror will be another stuff when he's doing that crazy ritual with the phone, and but that was brilliant. That was really, really amazing. And
Thank you.
And that was your first time working with Demián?
No, I work with him all my life because we grew up together when I met him when I was 6 years old in my school.
Wow.
We made friendship all during all life. When I started to study to be filmmaker, he started to study as actor. We started working together in my first short movies. Then he was part of my career in all my movies. He was in my second movie, Maldito Sea, and in my third movie, and in Terrified, whenever Lurks. So he's part of my career. He's a very talented actor. Very good.
Yes, he is. He has a very peculiar. I was telling that to a friend who loves movies, and I said Demián has this actor that the name of the actor is also Demián, and he has a Nicolas Cage vibe, like old school Nicolas Cage vibe, and it's
Oh, yeah.
amazing. It's amazing. It's amazing. At any moment, you think he will flip and he will do something crazy, and in Satanic Hispanics, everything that happens to him is super crazy. The dead
Yeah.
body under the table, and the crazy guy who goes to investigate the scene. That house is super creepy. I loved it. It was really really something. And then I want to ask you about Terrified, because Terrified blew my mind, David. Blew my mind. You have this skill. It's because we have a problem with mainstream horror. When you watch
Yeah.
mainstream horror, there is some kind of preparation, things are growing, you have the music, but in your movies, man, in your movie, the guy hears a noise and he opens the bathroom, and the wife's body is floating and beating on the walls, and I had to stop the movie, and I was like, Jesus fucking Christ. And that was so good, because that's the unexpected, and many creators, they don't know how to use the unexpected, and that was freaking brilliant. And what's your idea? How did you get to all the idea behind Terrified?
Well, thank you for your words. Terrify came from a short movie that I made with Demián Salomon in 2002, 2002. Was one of my first short movie, and was an experiment because I recently buy uh, um, some an artifact to capture the VHS to
Yes.
digitally. And I said, well, I need to learn to how to edit and how to make post production. And it was a practice. It was an experiment, that short movie. The story came in my mind when I woke up in the middle of the night, and it was like sensation. It wasn't true,
Oh
but I
my
thought,
god.
like I turn on the light, and I think to see 2 foot walking, crossing
That's horrible.
the platform. And then with that idea, I talked with Demián and said, let's do it. And it was just a simple scene. I did that scene, and we started to improvise, and we built that short movie. And years later, a colleague mine told me, I want you to write a horror movie. And I took that short movie, and I made the entire script. And well, finally he didn't take that script because he focused on another thing, and that script are there. So I took it and I tried to make a movie, and that's the end of the story.
Oh my god. And it's really really good. And there are many things that if you are a horror fan you will love. For example, this all the changes, because you think they're spirits or demons, but then there's something else entirely. That is that dimension is like Twilight Zone. And the Rosentalk character, that actor, I think it's George Lewis, his
John Lewis.
name.
Yeah.
Yes, and he has a Vincent Price face,
Yeah.
and he has a Vincent Price charm, and he is a little crazy, and you think, oh my god, this guy is going to die. He's too ambitious. He's going to die, and that is the amazing Elvira Oneto,
Yeah.
and she is gorgeous, and she is polite, and she really seems to be in control, and
Yeah.
they are all destroyed. uh, don't worry about spoilers, all right? I always we can talk freely about the movies, and they're all destroyed, and I love that because this is another problem in horror. In many different horror movies, we have this thing of the happy ending, and that
Mhm.
is really a coward attitude because in life, in everything, happy endings are really uncommon. So
Yeah.
it's really nice when we see the dark twist, when we see hope going away, and in the end, you have the guy pointing. Is that guy with you in the ending? And that's really creepy. When you start a story like that, you already have in your mind, okay, I will have this dark ending. Or I ask that because in my stories, for example, I have no idea what's going to happen with the characters. I have no idea. I don't know if they're gonna die, if they're gonna survive, and I don't like to have this kind of outline. I lose I lose the will to write instantly if I do that. So how
Yeah.
does that work for you?
It's the same. I used to do the same as you because it's for me the best way for it's my style. I don't know where I'm going when when I get the mid the middle of the script. I don't know who's gonna survive. I don't know how gonna be the ending, and it probably gives me more enthusiasm enthusiasm to write because I want to know where I'm going, where are they. I mean, the characters are going. As you said, I hate the happy endings. For me, a horror movie doesn't need a happy ending. Instead, you find it. But the problem is when the happy ending is like, okay, we need the happy ending. It's pushing the producer push to have a happy ending. For me, a happy ending in the movie is okay. Try to survive. Try to your character to survive. Yeah, yes, I guess the horror movie doesn't need happy ending, but if you find you are a hero.
Yes, yes. There was a Spanish movie I watched recently called Venus. I don't know if you
Yes.
watched it. It's about a stripper that she steals drugs from the place where she dances, but
Uh-huh.
in the middle of this robbery, there are also spirits and demons and witches. So it's
Uh-huh.
really full of twists. And she survives in the end of the movie, but there is all this cult thing where she is possessed, and somebody said, "Oh, that has a happy ending," and I said, "No, she's being possessed by this really dark entity." So it's a happy ending with a twist. So I
Okay.
always prefer, right? It's nice when you have a little something. It's not
Mm.
just pure bliss
Yeah.
by by the end of the movie. And talking about Solomon, Damien Solomon, he is also a little crazy and terrified.
Yeah.
The whole situation is making him a little crazy.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And the moment where he uses the cameras to film himself, that
Yeah.
was gold. That was gold. I don't know how you could create all those scenes. And there is another thing that I really like about your work. I don't know if it's conscious or not. In Terrified, you have the police in the investigation, and you have these people that they have some equipment that can measure things. And in When Evil Lurks, that is also guys with guns, and they're very tough, they're farmers. And there is also this woman who is apparently very tough, and she has some equipment, but evil cannot be measured and cannot be fought. So this is intentional, like consciently. I know that they will try and they will have some stuff, but evil is bigger than that. That's conscient.
I don't know if it is conscious. I guess it's a similarity. I used to try to do not repeat myself, but sometimes I cannot. I cannot avoid it. But yes, I guess both movies has a supernatural horror bigger than them. In Terrified, they don't know what and yeah what they are facing, and they discover in the process. Okay, this is bigger than we thought.
Yes.
And in When Evil Lurks, they already know what they are facing, um, but they make a lot of mistakes.
Yes.
This is the difference, but in both situations, the horror. I mean, these monsters are more powerful. Yeah, more powerful than the characters, and that is a similarity in both movies.
Yes. And so it was not calculated.
No,
It was just going with the flow, right, of the
no,
story. That's amazing.
going to the flow. Yeah,
That's
yeah,
amazing. And the last thing I want to say about Terrified was that many things in my reading and movies and everything changed when I had my daughter. And you started to feel new fears when you become a parent. And you put that freaking kid in Terrified. And I dreamed with that kid. And that was horrible. I had a table very similar to the table in the movie, and the room very similar to the room in the movie. And I dreamed I was waking up to make breakfast as I do every day, and the boy was on the table. And on the second dream, the boy was on the table, but the boy was my daughter. And that was brutal. And in that moment, I said, okay, so I will follow Demián forever. After this, if I had this level of trauma, I will follow this guy whatever he does, because it's really good. The kid moves and doesn't move, and the milk falls, and there are footprints there, and the mother is in shock, and that's my favorite part of Terrified. That sequence there is my favorite part of Terrified. And you, my friend, you are that's top 10 horror.
you're so sensible. You're so
Easy.
sensible. You must watch comedies
I
because
do.
I will make you have a nightmare
Yes.
if you still watch my movie.
Yes, no, that's the goal. That's totally the goal. That's totally the goal. That happened twice in the same year. It was with you and with Candyman, the new Candyman. I had nightmares with bees, and that was horrible too. But that was really good. Now, let's talk about When Evil Lurks. Just a curiosity, I really didn't like the title in Portuguese because I like
Uh-huh.
Quando Acecha La Maldad is
Okay.
brilliant. The verb acecha is really different. It's not getting close. It's not
Okay.
coming. Acecha is something else.
Mm.
And when evil lurks is also good because lurks that thing is like looking and it maybe hunting you is getting closer. But in Portuguese, I don't know why they use it. I will translate to English. In English, it's the evil inside us.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
I know. I guess it's the first country which changed the title.
yes, yes, and this is normal. In Brazil, we change all the titles possible. That we have a history with that and many jokes with that. Because I am a English teacher and I am a translator and I am a reviewer. That's my main job, my day job.
I make a
And
joke. I make a joke with my Brazilian friends. because the piracy. I mean, the movie was with links in Brazil, has a big
Wow.
success with the piracy, and I said, well, this is a good idea to change the name because almost half of Brazilians already saw the movie in link. So that's the point. Probably they change the name.
They will watch again, right? They will watch again. Yes.
You will
And
discover it's the same movie that they saw in internet.
maybe they can watch with actors making the voices, right? They can do something different.
Uh, it's with voiceover in Brazil also. I
Yes,
saw a
yes.
trailer in Brazil and it made me laugh a lot. I share with the actress because they changed her voice. Um, even the little the granny, the grandmother. It's
Yes.
really small. In the movie, doesn't looks like small. He's 1 meter 50, and the voiceover give her a voice like hello,
Yes.
like a whiskey voice, and it was
Yes.
funny.
We have many jokes in Brazil involving voz de velha fumante. That in English would be the voice of an old woman who smokes. So that's the voice she got. That's the voice she got.
Yeah.
Uh, and but everybody that I talk to, Damien, the experience of watching Quando Acecha La Maldad in theaters, everybody loved it. Everybody loved it because the first thing about When Evil Lurks was that the photography of the movie is perfect. It's
Thank you.
perfect. The colors, the places, everything is really really amazing. I told my wife she lived in Spain for many years, and she lived also in a rural part of Spain.
Mhm.
And she said, "Oh, the beginning of the movie has a feeling that is rural." And my city also, I live in a very small city in a rural part of the country, and
Mhm.
the feeling, the smell. When we start watching When Evil Lurks, we can almost feel the smell of the grass and the farm and the silence, and that's amazing. That's really good. And I wanted to tell you that here we have the concept of sertão. Have you ever heard of it?
Which
Sertão?
sick town?
Yeah, I
I
will
don't know what
send you, I will send it here in the chat box. It's
hmm?
this word.
Sick town.
Yes.
Sick
Uh,
town. Sick town.
yes.
I don't know what it is.
Sertão is a part of the country that is very empty. Not many people live there, and it's ignored by the government. And
Okay.
many people are hungry. Many people have small farms, and
Okay.
it's a place that created a lot of folklore, a lot of history. People are
Yeah.
very proud to be from the Sertão area, and
Okay.
I'm one of them. And I
Which
everybody
what is the part of
is the
Amazonia?
northernmost part on the
The north.
right of the Amazonian forest, on the
Okay.
right
Okay.
side.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's a very dry place with a lot of cactuses, and everybody that is from Sertão that watched Quando Acecha La Maldad fortunately had the same feeling that I had. That was the feeling of, I understand that.
Yeah.
I understand being left out by the government. I understand not having help. The brothers are alone in the
Yeah.
farm, and they seek the authorities, and the authorities are like, uh, and sometimes you have diseases, or you have crises because of the kind of pesticide that you are
Yeah.
using to keep your vegetables alive. So it was, I don't know if if any of this crossed your mind about the movie, but this feeling of helplessness in a rural area was amazing. Did you consider that this was on your mind when you when you started thinking about Cuando Acecha La Maldad?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, the idea of the rodent guy, embichado. I don't know how is the translation in Portuguese. How is the translation of the rodent guy?
It would be apodrecido.
Apodrecido. Okay.
Yes.
Apodrecido came in my mind because of my reflection of what I saw in my own country with the towns who is fumigated by pesticides. Here, we have a lot of land in Argentina with contamination of this shit. People lives in the disease and get cancer, and nobody cares because they are poor people who lives in those places.
From the city.
Yeah, farm in the far away in the distance, in the middle of nothing, and the people who work in the farms, in the field, and all the time I thought in that people, and what about if instead of a disease is a demon? What could happen if a demon is growing in a house in the poverty, in the middle of nothing? That's why that is what I thought, how the society react on that, and that interested me to write it. And it's normal here have this kind of situation.
And it's funny because if you think that sometimes people think about Alien, for example, from Ridley Scott, and in one of the posters for Alien, you have in space, no one will hear you scream, right?
Yeah.
But depending where you live, nobody will hear you scream too, right?
Yeah.
And this is very powerful because sometimes you are seeing Pedro and Jimmy, and I got desperate because oh my god, these guys are trying to do something good, and that is that old lady. She is an immigrant, and her son is rotten. He is the apodrecido, and that makeup was fucking gorgeous. That was some George Romero practical effect
Yeah, it's
shit,
incredible.
and that was simply incredible. And that is a guy here in Brazil, in my state, that he makes action figures. And I said, Bruno, I want that. You have to try to do that for me because I want it a little bad with the rotten guy here on my table, because I can work like just looking at him. That was really brutal, Damian. That was amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. And even the name of emputrecido, apodrecido is the translation of the translation in English. I mean, the original name in Spanish is encarnado, and I don't know in Portuguese how is incarnate. Incarnate some flesh inside your flesh, and the guys in the slang of these guys, they talk about this monster as an embichado. An embichado is like a baguette, like a bag inside you. And when the distributors translate as rodent, I guess it's not the same name.
No, it's not. It's not.
That was it's a pity that in Portuguese translate the translation. I mean, it must translate. It must be better if they translate the original.
Yes, from Spanish. Spanish, yes. And you can see that because the guy is getting bloated. So there is this thing manifesting inside of him. and
Yeah.
he's getting that. It's amazing. It's amazing. It's amazing, and it was the best horror I watched last year, and it was the best horror I watched in the last 5 years, hands
Thank
down. And many people that I talked about, many creators and people who talk about horror in Brazil, they felt the same,
thank you.
especially because you don't take your foot from the accelerator, Damien. You are very cruel. You are a horrible man who really wants to destroy your spectator, and that's perfect, Damien, because I see Pedro suffering and Jimmy suffering, and then that is the scene in the house with the freaking dog, and then when we are already, our heart is already destroyed, then we have the school kids, and I will never teach kids again in my life. I taught kids for 10 years, and I don't teach kids for like 4 years now, only adults, but I will never teach kids again. And it doesn't stop. It's really getting, a horror is really blowing up in everybody's faces, and that was amazing. It is like you are directing and you have no control over that, because shit is just happening. And what were your inspirations for all of that? Like, or this all this evil is inside you, you know? How does that work?
Well, it's easy because I guess we have a lot of cruelty in
Yes.
our conscience. Uh, some people more than other. And for me, make movies and tell story make me possible to spread its cruelty like a catharsis. And the good of this is the idea that it doesn't it it doesn't have form, this kind of horror that give me a lot of creativity option.
Amazing.
um, and yes, I don't know, I start to write, and obviously I had the dog scene in my head during a lot of years, and I never found the story to tell that scene. Even originally, the idea was with a smaller kid, and I was planning to do with the baby uh, in the little bed of the, I don't know how the name in
The
Moise.
crib. The crib.
But yeah,
The
where the
crib.
baby, yeah. But if I do that, I found better way with a little girl, because the idea to return and say to her mother, "You cannot die, motherfucker." I said, no, it needs to be a little one, but not the baby.
And it's in
Uh,
broad daylight, because people think that horror needs to be in the dark,
yeah,
right? Oh man.
yeah. With the daylight, because of Terrified, I was trying to make something different, and obviously it's there to make a horror movie in daylight. But if you find the story, it's not too difficult. The difficult is find the story. But
Yes.
yeah, but yes, the daylight has another problems that as different as the people think is easily to shoot in daylight. It's not to shoot, no easy to shoot in daylight. It's more easy to shoot at night with your lights, and you control the lights what you want. So I guess next movie I will return to the night.
Wow, that's amazing. That's gonna be awesome. And it's amazing because Pedro, he is a very, he's a guy that is in a lot of trouble
Yeah.
in many different ways, right? I think that the name of the actor is Ezekiel, and
Ezequiel Rodriguez.
yes, and he is really good. He is really
Yeah.
good. But my favorite scene, and it's difficult because a friend watched the movie and she said, Fernando, you should have prepared me. And I said, why? And she said, because there is the goat, and then the axe, and then there is the dog with the girl, and then there is the mother with the kid in the car, and then there are the kids at school. So he couldn't find a favorite moment, but I could. It's with Jimmy again, and poor Jimmy is driving, and he is trying to find his nephew, and the scene was already brutal when we see the mother on her back, and it's really dark, and the camera was showing her walking with the kid on her arms, and only that scene, she walking with the kid on her arms, that was already terrible. You could understand that if the kid is not on her hand on the street, that kid is probably dead. But that is an extra, that she is eating his brains like popcorn, and Jimmy freaks out perfectly. I would do the same that he did in that
I
scene.
mean, too.
That was the only possible action there. So I wanted to ask you this: do you have a favorite scene you considered this masterpiece of horror, memorable moments? Do you have a favorite scene?
Um, Thank you for your words. I don't know. Obviously, dog scene was out there. It was a really, really. We we've been preparing and developing how to shoot this movie without CGI, and it was really, really intense process during a year before to shoot that scene. Uh, I don't know. I thought to shoot that movie in one shoot, and I couldn't do it. Uh, the scene was really, really good, and I'm very proud of that. But when I realized in the middle of the process I couldn't shoot that in one shoot, I said, "Fuck." I'm very sad for that. So that's why I say, "Well, this probably is the best scene for me, but it's not what I wanted." And all the situation as the same. I don't know. Honestly, I used to say the same. The sheriff office is my favorite because the producer wanted to get rid of this scene, and I fought a lot to keep it because I needed. I knew that scene is truly important for the story. Is where you realize the police and all the society is knows about this, and I fought to keep it, and that's why I said it's my favorite because
That's
I'm a
amazing. That's amazing. And you can see that the police officers are total assholes, which
yeah,
is police 101 in many different scenarios and countries.
yeah,
And it's fun because the brothers, they get desperate and desperate and desperate, and the kid who is autistic, there are so many layers. And I believe that you, Damien, and it's not just because I'm in front of you. If you want, I can send you my video later that I talked about when evil lurks, and you see that I tell this to everybody. You made the most innovative possession movie in the last 15 years. Is the
thank
most innovative, is the hands down, because the kid with autistic kid, they don't know if he's possessed or not,
yeah,
and everybody in the town kind of knows what is a possession. Some people don't, there are strange rules, like don't shoot with or don't use a firearm. Now you need to use a knife or something. uh, and the clothes. Nah, don't touch them. Don't use clothes if you moved the body. So the rules are very strange. Religion is dead. The churches are dead. So you
Yeah.
built a world in a really small time, and you did it perfectly. So
Thank
if you didn't, if nobody told you this yet, I have to say that it was the most innovative possession story in the last 15 years, hands down. And did you did you think about explaining things? Because horror, when we don't explain, horror gets better. So I noticed that you don't talk a lot about the churches. You don't talk about a lot the equipment of the old lady, the knife, the firearms. Did you try to control that?
Yeah, well, thank you. Um, uh, it's too difficult to get the balance between what the audience are expecting uh, and what the the story needs to tell, because you're in a horror movie and you need to keep a lot of information, because the sense of horror movie is you don't know what is happening, or you don't know why, you know what you must to keep the audience in a constant uh, uh, but feeling in a position they are not uncomfortable. And gave if you give them to the audience all the answer, you lose the path, you lose the control of the if you give the control of the information to the audience, you lose uh, the pace of and the tone. So the balance between how much the audience wants and how much the audience needs
Yes.
is the really point in the horror movie. I mean, when I made Terrified, obviously you read the critics, and everyone loved that. But when I receive a negative point, is the only negative point in common that I recollect is because he doesn't explain what is happening.
Oh my God.
And in this time, I recollect uh, a lot of negative critics. Obviously, we have a 97 Rotten Tomatoes.
Yes.
When sometimes, okay, I give you 8 points because I didn't give you 10 because you explain enough, a lot. You explain a lot.
Oh my God.
That balance is it depends of the audience. It depends. And for me, the balance is perfect if the story works. If the story
Yes.
works, if I scare you, if I
Yes.
give you a story that you are uncomfortable and you have a bad moment for a horror movie that you pay for have a bad moment. This is my goal. It doesn't matter if I over explain or I not. The point is that what the audience wants and what the audience needs, and I'm the owner of to take that decision by the moment. But what happened in the studio movie in Hollywood movie is okay. Over explain everything because all the audience need to have the explanation, and that's the point when you see the commercial and movies. I mean the big movies in horror scenario. It's all the same explanation, all the same explanation,
Exactly.
and it. push you out. So, okay, I know everything. I know how kill it. I know what is happening, what is going to happen next.
Yes.
Yes, it's a really, really delicate.
Yes. Especially when you are dealing with a public that is fed stupid scripts and obvious sequences constantly. Because many movies that are made almost in an industry way, they're very similar and everything is very equal. So that's very easy. And I like when you retain information. You don't need to know everything. You need to worry about the characters. And that was gold. In When Evil Lurks, in Terrified, that was pure gold. And When Evil Lurks gave me the perfect answer to a friend. He watched When Evil Lurks and he said, Fernando, the movie is amazing, but I don't understand Pedro. Everything the woman explains to Pedro, he does it wrong. And he doesn't follow the rules. And I said, man, did you take your vaccine? In the last 2 years, did you take your vaccines? And he said, no. And I said, okay, so that's it. That's it. That's humanity. That's
It's humanity. More even when you have your family and a monster who took your children, you're trying to save him. All the decision of Pedro for me is what I'll do in his situation, because his son disappeared by this monster. He saw her ex-wife die. He saw the dog eat a little girl. So all the decision that you take is because you have blood, you warm blood in you, and you take it. I mean, as you said, we are a machine to take wrong decisions.
Yes, and that's humanity. And but I like this twist, and I understand that Pedro is suffering so much, and he's not even thinking straight. If you are sitting in your theater and eating popcorn and drinking soda, it's so easy for you to judge, right? That is also this side that people don't understand. Damian, my last question for you is, who inspires you? So if you had to tell me some directors or some movies that you love and they're always in your heart, who would you mention?
Yes, the director that I love is Sam Raimi, Dario Argento, Guillermo del Toro, Quentin Tarantino, Coen Brothers. I guess it's normal as a normal guy who grew up in the 80s watching
Yes.
those 80s and early 90s. And the inspiration my ideas came from my real life situations. I used to play in a how to say in English, but in a normal life situation. The dog with the kid. I mean, as an example. But yes, I guess that's my inspirations came from that. And obviously, I'm a big fan of horror movie of the 80s.
Yes.
I had it doesn't in Brazil doesn't exist, but in the 80s have a series called B from extraterrestrial lizards came to, and it's a really famous series. Which it was a big success in the States and in Argentina and in Spain. but it doesn't. It doesn't in Brazil. I have a lot of friends in Brazil, and all the time I say, "How you don't saw the E?" No, it was a big inspiration for me during was I was a child and I was a teenager. It
That's
was a
amazing.
big
It's
yeah.
B, just the letter B?
B.
Ah, V. Ah, no, I know V. V is amazing. The reptilians, I love that. The old series, right? The new one is not so good.
No. I did. I saw just one chapter of this.
No, it's horrible. It's horrible. It's horrible.
Horrible, yeah.
There are many interesting analogies in V and analogies with the Nazi, and that it's very powerful. I love that. Well, Demián, thank you so much for your time and for your generosity. I would like you to compliment you one more time on your work. You rock, and I'm really anxious for your future projects.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I will push you to watch my previous movies in my website. They are free. DemiánRugna.com. You and your audience will find my short movie and previous movie free. Just visiting there.
Nice.
In Spanish, it's Spanish and English, but sorry for my Portuguese. I don't.
That's not a problem at all. Thank you so much. Have a great week, and I hope to talk to you soon. All right?
Thank you so much, my friend.
All right. Bye bye, Demián. See you.
Bye-bye.
See you.